everyone. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker Training. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of fmtraining.tv, where every day we are doing great FileMaker training. We're having a fun time doing it, and we're glad you are all here with us. A lot of times we do training here, but sometimes the folks out there in the audience come on the show and you do training and I get schooled, I get to learn, so I'm always excited when that happens. So today is a follow-up special day with the folks from Claris. We're going to be picking that up momentarily, a couple of bits of news and scheduling. So if I go to fmtrain.tv, you'll see the button right here for live training. Today we have an open Q&A with Claris, so get your questions going. That would be awesome. And then Friday, tomorrow, we've got multi-advanced criteria, doing some advanced stuff with filters with Nick Hunter. And next week is some more Nick Hunter. And then next Thursday, that's September 7th, that's Hansa, right, Margaret? RFID stuff. Interesting. That should be very exciting. So the following Monday, we start Law and Disorders, 30 days of basic FileMaker training with me, Richard Carlton. I'll be here doing the training on that with you. Law and disorder. All our examples will be from either law enforcement or from organized crime families. It's very exciting. So if you're used to boring training, you don't have to worry about that. We're going to have it all be very exciting. Let's pivot real quick. So I'm going to quit sharing. I'm going to stop sharing my screen momentarily. So we have Giuliano and Rick from Claris. So Giuliano, since I always get your title and name wrong, why don't you officially introduce yourself for me there? That would be awesome.
Happy to, Richard. Thank you. So name is Giuliano Iacobelli. Head of product.
All right. And you're head of product management. Okay. And then so Rick Kalman, you are Rick Kalman. You are the janitor at Claris. Is that what you do these days? What do you do?
Yeah, I'm a director of product management, focusing primarily on the FileMaker side of the house, but obviously the entire Claris platform, which is broadening.
Yep. It's getting better and getting simplified, which is always awesome. So what we're going to do real quick is I've stopped sharing my screen momentarily, or at least for now. And we're going to, and Margaret is here, air traffic control. My broadcast engineer is here with me. So we're broadcasting on Twitch, YouTube, and Discord, like triple cast. So you can ask your question in whichever location you're at. We're going to see your question. We're going to pass it along. However, I asked Giuliano to give us a brief recap of the announcement from Tuesday. So spend a couple minutes and kind of walk us through, if you want to share your screen, walk us through what the announcement was for Tuesday in terms of the platform and simplification, etc.
Sure. Let me share my screen so I can use some supporting slide like I did on Tuesday. I won't go through the entire slide deck, but I can definitely touch on some specific slide to cover that. So in a very condensed summary, the update we socialized on Tuesday boils down to changes that are happening to the product strategy. That's really the update. Today, where we are from a product perspective, if we really have a offering running on two parallel tracks with a significant amount of redundancy, if you wish. The blue one on the top is the FileMaker platform, as you know it, with Claris Connect that works with it. The green one on the bottom was basically what was initiated last year in April when we introduced Studio for the first time. Using one of the two and presenting this story was very confusing for customers because we really put a fork in the road in front of them, which led to confusion. It was hard for the customer to determine which platform to choose and the timing of when to make the choice. Without even mentioning that there was some extra steps and risk entailed in migrating from the blue one to the green one, which think like changing file formats among other aspects, and while doing so, also not having immediately some of the key features that FileMaker Pro had and the Claris Pro didn't have yet. And that caused a lot of confusion and overhead. The main goal of all of that, though, was making sure that at least we could pursue the strategy of expanding the tool set for our developer without putting at risk any existing deployment. So a significant portion of the reason why this was developed the way it is was to make sure that no existing deployment of a solution running on FileMaker basically would have been put at risk. The change that we've been announcing and socializing this week make it so we're gonna make Studio available and able to work with the FileMaker piece parts as you know it. So Claris Pro, when it came out and alongside with Studio, had this primary capability of being able to exchange data seamlessly, operating under the concept of data anywhere, one of the guiding principles that we're following toward building our platform strategy. And that was not available yet on the FileMaker Pro side and server. So what this change really means from a practical perspective, and what is the impact on the products, is that FileMaker Pro and server basically will have equal access to the studio hosted data and vice versa where needed, which was what the previous the parallel track platform had. So that becomes available in there and works on existing FileMaker solution without asking or putting at risk and changing up any of those existing solution. So it ultimately eliminates any need to go through a migration to the Claris Blender platform. And our goal is to deliver this update by the end of calendar year 2023. I'll pause for a second. Richard, tell me if you want me to continue or...
Yeah, absolutely. You're doing great. And then we'll have some questions for you immediately as soon as you finish this.
Once this is done, the result basically is that the row that you see on the top and the row that you see on the bottom becomes pretty much equal. Or at least there is nothing in the track below that is not available in the track above, which makes the track below, the green one, at the point completely redundant, which means that we can build toward getting rid of it, consolidating under one unified platform offering that should avoid any confusion. And this is going to happen early 2024 with absolute awareness and attention to any customer who had took the risk and took the leap of faith of using the green track very early and making sure that there will be no disruption to their world as well, because we're still very well anchored to the guiding principles that drives our strategy and one of the key one is, again, making sure that we don't break existing deployment. So if you're worried, for those that have taken the leap of faith and we're using Claris Pro as an example on some project, we will not just pull the rug underneath your feet. We'll make sure that a seamless transition path is designed and that is not going to cause overhead for you. And that leads us basically where in early 2024, when the redundant aspect of the parallel track can be phased out, the platform really boils down to what you see on this slide. So the Claris FileMaker world is the one that you know and rely on for your solution until today, with the addition of Claris Connect and Claris Studio, and have them to work cohesively with each other as one. On the Claris FileMaker box, I want to make sure that I call out also the Pro Server Go are the three main items under that bucket, but that includes WebDirect as well, which I know sometimes is seen as a standalone separate product because that's how it's probably messaged and marketed. Practically speaking, from a product implementation perspective, how the stuff is actually built, it's inside server. So if you don't see there, don't be alarmed. It doesn't mean in any way that WebDirect is going away. Just we consider that being part of server. Good. Okay, let me wrap up real quick just to close the loop on what's coming up. So after this comes together, what it allows us to do is to provide on-ramps to existing FileMaker customer and customer have been using solution running on FileMaker. We're gonna continue to invest on on-ramps to new capabilities. Claris Connect has been a great evidence that that approach worked well for us. For those who have followed the FN 2023 launch, when alongside with that, we made the developer tier of Connect available for free. There has been a significant spike of demand for Claris Connect accounts, basically. So people that signed up for it have started exploring it, and those who made and experienced success with the product to the extent that they were seeing value in it, they moved to and upgraded to a paid plan on Connect. So it proved that the thought process of providing on-ramps to new tools so that people can explore it at no friction, basically, it's proven to be working in favors of both of us. So people doesn't take two risks and have to make any form of specific investment other than some time to explore the new product. And we get the chance to experience success and decide whether or not they would be willing to pay for it. And so the approach will be replicated with Studio, where we're going to make it available for customers with an active FileMaker 2023 license. It's going to be available for free in some capacity. I'm sure there will be questions related to that, so I don't want to keep my monologue too long. So, Richard, maybe we can pause here and see where the conversation takes us.
Okay, so Rick, I got a couple low-hanging questions. I'm just going to hit you quick on these. So I'm going to throw these at Rick to get him involved in the conversation real quick. So first off is, so we have the FileMaker. If you can go back that one slide, Giuliano. Oh, well, that's fine.
No, it's fine. I can pull it up.
You go to the one slide where it's the last one, well, not almost last one, where you have the three blocks, the final platform, the unified platform, as referred to that. There continues to be a little question about, Rick, for you. Claris Connect is this API connectivity tool that lives up in the cloud, and Claris Studio seems to currently live in the cloud. And this is a repeat from Tuesday, but that's fine because a number of people are confused with what they've heard. Are you going to be able to install Claris Studio locally on-prem?
Currently, Studio is only available as a cloud property that you connect with from FileMaker, which obviously can be on-prem. We have had some discussions, but we have no plans at this point yet. And the time is, then things change. But at this point, we're not providing a completely on-prem version of Claris Studio.
Yeah, so for everyone there real quick, I'm going to just help out here with this. So this piece here can be either on-prem or it can be in the cloud, depending on how you want to set it up. These pieces here are the new tech that Claris has been building. This is kind of where the Mongo data hangs out, things like that. People hear this terminology about the Mongo database engine. So this is purely up in the cloud over here on this piece, but this is either on-prem or cloud. It can go either way, and you have your choice. But even if it's on-prem, you can still connect back and forth to the cloud. So it's turning into like some sort of John Madden football graphic, but that's kind of the idea with this. So just to be very clear, Claris Studio, if it has your data in it, that part of it will be in a Mongo database in the cloud. And your FileMaker, where your FileMaker server is, you have a choice. The on-prem is a hugely popular piece. I actually use kind of on-prem, but I park mine up on AWS on an EC2 server. We've talked about that before. Tremendous power and capability, giving you the option on that. I just had a customer said, haven't had a great experience with cloud, with cloud in general, parking a server up somewhere. We want to go back to on-prem. Totally good. FileMaker supports that. That's not going away. Very, very important. Okay.
Hey, Rich, can I add one caveat there? I would expect the vast majority of your audience right now to understand this, but just in case, when we talk about you have the option of FileMaker either in the cloud or on premise, and then Claris Connect and Studio as cloud properties, and Claris Studio using Mongo database, that is not to say that if you have FileMaker running in FileMaker Cloud, that we're taking your data and putting it in the Mongo database. Not true whatsoever. It stays in FileMaker in the Draco database as it's always has. The data that is in Studio, that's in Mongo in the cloud. Nothing from FileMaker, even if you go to FileMaker Cloud, do we remove from, essentially think of it as a remotely accessible on-prem server sitting in AWS.
Correct. Absolutely good. So that took care of a question from Stefan. A couple people are asking about where is Claris Studio and how do we manage that? And that's basically, from our perspective, a service. And there were a couple, I see all your questions here. I'm trying to ask them in kind of a sequential, semi sort of order. Ken, Hot Air Balloon Ken, everyone who knows who that is, he's the guy who calls the tower and requests to do a flyby on the tower with his hot air balloon at 5 knots. Not like Top Gun where you go by with afterburners on. He goes by at 5 knots, is about 8 miles an hour. Ken says, well, first off, it seems a little bit confusing, but it's getting better. On Claris Connect, well, he would like to request that we get Cognito forms developed or a connector, et cetera, et cetera. So loosely, Rick, do you want to, or Giuliano, you want to cover the fact that we have some canned connectors now, but that's going to widen out to the community at large, if you want to address that a little bit?
Sure, I'm happy to take that one. It was, again, part of the presentation. I can even just have the slide as supporting material as we go through it. Give me 1 second. I'll jump to that if...
Here we go. Yeah.
This is all right. So that's a slide that we also showed on Tuesday as part of the short-term product-related release plan. And I guess the question begs to spend a couple of words on the one on the upper left corner specifically, which are the custom connectors. As you, Richard, you just said, Claris Connect today comes with a portfolio of ready-made connectors, all of them built by our team, that cannot be extended in any way. Not what is not possible to extend is either the portfolio, meaning adding one, or maybe expanding on some of the existing one, because you need that to perform one more operation against an API endpoint that is not covered by that connector at that for now, and therefore you are not able to succeed in covering your use cases if the moment that an API endpoint is not supported by the connector that we have available, or we don't have a connector at all for the piece of software that you want to integrate with. Custom connector will start solving for this problem, and its first version will allow developers to define a connector, and the operation of defining a connector, so practically implementing one on Connect, it's a matter of writing a JSON file, really, within a web UI designed to support that work. And this connector, this custom connector functionality allows to create connectors that for now support actions, with a plan to expand to also triggers and a variety of authentication mechanisms that are common out there on REST API. But that means that you are no longer blocked by the predefined offering that you find within Connect, which didn't give you any chance to build on top of that infrastructure. And custom connectors will unlock a lot of value there, because developers will be able to create their own connectors by leveraging the integration infrastructure that the tools provide, and then build data automation workflows, and they can streamline repetitive process through Connect, but while connecting to APIs that are currently not there, because we cannot account for all of the API endpoints that are out there on the market. Does that answer? Right. Does that covers the?
Yeah, that covers that. And then I'm going to throw this one. So like kind of a short answer for Rick Kalman. So someone asked this question, and I want to welcome Wim DeCord, has showed up as well in Discord. Welcome, Wim, along with all the other people who are hanging out with us, including Rosemary, who is the official Claris police dog, watching me to make sure that things don't get out of hand on the show. Rick Kalman. So if the core of our world is this FileMaker product we've used for 20, 30 years, some of us less than that, but for some of us longer than that. So briefly in like 1 or 2 sentences, what does Connect give us that we don't already have? And what does Studio or will Studio give us that we don't already have? Can you explain that for kind of new people?
Yeah, so Connect is essentially just an easier way to integrate. I mean, you can do a lot of this now by understanding the APIs and the endpoints and using FMP URL and cobbling together API by API. Or you can take many of the common things that we've already built to connect to, making it a lot easier in order to take that. So it's a productivity enhancement. If you don't feel technically capable of slinging your own sort of API and connecting to endpoints and all that, then you can simply use one of the connectors. And as Giuliano said, as we extend out the ability to, if there's not a connector for it, then either you can create it or someone else can create it and you can use it. So that's the connect piece. As far as Studio, it is the kinds of things. One, it's built on a completely new, modern, web framework that allows you to do things like, depending upon the size of the screen that you're deploying your app on, it adjusts without having to create special layouts for each one because it reflows based on that. It's great for publicly facing anonymous forms, which FileMaker, unless you're using custom web publishing or some other third party, doesn't use. It's got some great data visualization capabilities built right in for dashboarding and things like Kanbans and calendar views and that sort of thing. And we're looking at a number of other things to solve with it. The best way to think about it is think of the FileMaker platform that you've known for all these years, now being referred to because of the additional enhancements to it as the Claris platform, which is the superset, still based on the foundation of what the tool you already know how to wield, with some additional enhancements, right? The ability to leverage something like Claris Connect in order to easily, more efficiently be able to connect to something, or the ability to very easily project something out anonymous or a reentrant customer portal without a lot of heavy lifting. If you need it, use it. It's an enhancement to the platform. It's not a separate thing in and of itself, and it is only at the beginning and will continue to evolve.
Yeah, so that's a good one. So I'm going to pivot real quick. So now that we've kind of covered the basics of what those are, there's a number of questions that are pivoting around the freemium. So let me, and I'm going to hit my button here. Oh, there we go. I got Rick there. Oh, I got both of you. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do real quick is simply ask myself the question and try to take a swing at this the best I can. So people say there's a conversation going here about FileMaker Pro, free or freemium model. And what I would tell you from my perspective on the FileMaker freemium, so Claris did connect free. It's kind of a silo effort, this one-off to do connect for free to see what happens. And that went pretty well. And so and this is me postulating, and then Claris can step in here and step on me when I get this wrong. They learned a lot from Connect. So now they're going to take what they learned from Connect and make Studio free in a similar sort of way, basically for entry-level people, the developers to check it out. Once you get to a point where you're using it as a positive business activity, using it to further your business in a measurable, useful way, you're willing to pay for it, you need to pay for it. That's great. I think what happens is that after Claris learns from Connect, they learn from Studio, then they turn back to FileMaker Pro or Claris Pro or whatever we're calling this Pro thing, right? And that's where they would take everything they've learned up that point and try to come out with a free version of that. Right. Once again, I think Claris is all behind this. They just have to execute that. And that means that if Connect is free now and Studio Connect will be free kind of for introductory trying out, kicking the tires, that comes up over between, say, here and the end of the year, Rick, something like that, then probably Pro free is down the road beyond the end of the year. And I don't know when that is, but do I have that like loosely kind of correct, Rick? Did I butcher that badly?
No, you've got it in the correct order. I mean, here's the way we look at this, right? Is that there's this greater Claris platform I just talked about, right? And you just talked about. Then there are on-ramps with some new stuff to that platform, one of them being Claris Connect, the other one being Claris Studio. Those on-ramps are free because they intend to allow you to see if there's value there that you want to then take advantage of, right? We also do believe that that it will be to our advantage to have a free tier of our entire platform, which includes FileMaker, and there's certainly something that we are driving towards. And what that gets us out of the business of you've got 45 days to learn this vast platform. It's like you've got 45 days to you've got 45 days to master a musical instrument, right? So we get out of that, and there is no time limit. And then you have the time you need to get to what we call the 0 to aha, that moment you realize, what can't I do? Versus I don't know how to do anything, right? With power comes a learning curve, and we understand that, and you understand that. We certainly aspire to making the platform easier and easier to approach all the time. But in the meantime, we believe that this will really open up an opportunity for both developers to make a living with the platform, not having to worry about, how do I get something in the hands of customers, especially since there's not a royalty-free runtime anymore. But anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Giuliano, do you have anything in addition to that?
No. You covered it.
Okay, good. So moving along, I have a couple more technical kind of questions, and I'm just going to throw these out because I think I know the answers, but I'm going to give them to Rick. So Stefan is asking on Twitch, Claris Studio is kind of this web experience. It augments the FileMaker platform. Can I load Claris Studio into a web viewer? That way it's like inside of FileMaker if I want?
That absolutely works. For sure. And to tell you the truth, we're also working on something a little bit better than that. Expect be able to see some things in ETS in the future. But yeah, so well, I'm just teasing you. You'll see it in ETS. But for sure. And if you want to really get your head around Studio, what I would say is connect to a Studio table that you may have with FileMaker, and then throw that view in a web viewer and begin to see how these two can complement each other to get your head around what we're really talking about here and why we're excited about where this is heading.
Okay. Will there be a version of FileMaker based on MongoDB?
Well, here's what I'll say. There's no plans for that now. Will there ever be is an impossible question to answer because we're agile, iterative, and we keep an eye on how fast tech is moving and where it's moving. So I never say never. At this point, we have no plans to port FileMaker to a Mongo NoSQL database.
Okay, next one. Will the patch tool ever be revised and documented and in a form that it can be trusted with production solutions?
Short answer, yes. A little bit longer answer, you should see something, the next version of that in ETS, probably next month to begin kicking the tires on. We've got our best and brightest on it. His first name is Clay. I'll let you guess his last name. Yeah, we'll give it love. We understand the necessity of that tool for what it is that you guys do.
So real quick, just for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there is the data migration tool as the one we're talking about. So it's where you have your two files with some very similar structure. It allows you to move the user input data at high speed from file A to file B. That's what we're talking about. Every time there's major changes to the FileMaker platform, that tool has to be tweaked and updated a little bit. So yeah, Clay is the guy. We should get Clay on here. Rick, can you call Clay and tell him to show up on our show? That would be great.
Sorry, I'm trying to. So this is kind of more complicated one. So it's going to be like setting up ODBC on the server rather than each user's machine. Centralize the complicated stuff and share the results? ?
Well, I guess I'm divining because I did on Tuesday talk about that, to think about FileMaker and Studio similar to ESS or external SQL data sources, with the one exception that you do not have to bother with ODBC. We own both ends of the pipe. We know how to directly communicate, so there's no ODBC whatsoever, and you can access it from server or from the clients. It doesn't care. As long as as long as the person setting it up has a Claris ID, because Studio does require a Claris ID, but only the person who has access to that to integrate it with their solution needs it. You do not need to log in with a Claris ID in FileMaker to be able to leverage a connected Studio table or data source, and you don't have to worry about ODBC.
Okay, good questions and people coming in, and it looks like Giuliano is going to write a reply here between all the frogs that we have. Next question, Marks.
Kind of like, I'll do a two-part because people have been asking this one. What value does Studio bring that FM Pro, WebDirect, and Go doesn't? Kind of related, does Claris Studio do the same thing as we can do in WebViewer? Question mark.
I think Rick covered that.
We kind of covered that, so let me just answer that one real quick. So Connect and Studio are augments with plural S to the FileMaker platform. That means that FileMaker, we all know, well, people have been doing FileMaker for a while, been doing drugs for a while, understand what FileMaker capabilities are. Studio and Connect are designed to fill gaping holes that we've had in the platform for a long time. I'm sure product management would never use the term gaping holes, but all the developers here understand that those are real things. So Studio solves the anonymous form creation. It has a lot of neat things it does. I think Studio is in its infancy and will grow quite a bit. Connect is starting to mature a little bit. I'm very excited to see what that does. That's basically easier integration with other services is a short version. Have FileMaker connect to other non-FileMaker services easier, right? Like QuickBooks or Dropbox or Box, or you can have FileMaker set up your Zoom calls with people and schedule those and all sorts of stuff. So that's what Connect does. So that's what those are. They're augments. So,
yeah, I mean, I would say that philosophically, think about it this way: is that we will continually look for ways to make it easier for you to accomplish things that you can do now, maybe, but with a lot of, like, you can use custom web publishing, but you got to use custom web publishing, right? So it's a sling, and what the reason is anything that we can save you time on, you can apply what your real skill is, and that's solving the real business problems that your customers have or your business has if you're an in-house developer, versus trying to get the code to do what it is you're trying to get it to do. So we will look for ways of, sure, you could do many of the things you can do with Connect right now in the product, but you can do it an awful lot faster if you use Claris Connect, or if you use Connector Kit in the future, build it once, because your team is routinely connecting to that same other data source that you routinely package with what you do. Then you've got something reusable, not have to build over and over or copy and paste. So philosophically, that's what we're trying to do. And with at the same time, understanding that you guys make your living developing solutions for other people. So we're not trying to take your business away from you as well. So.
All right, so real quick, I want to start pointing out that Claris is requesting that we do a survey. I'm going to put this right over Rick's head so we can't see Rick at all. It's surveymonkey.com/R. Margaret, can you cross-post this survey everywhere so people can see a survey? I'm not sure what this survey is. Is Richard a good guy, or should we shoot him, right? I don't know what the survey says. So, but Rosemary did it, so I am concerned about what it says. So, all right, cool. So we have that one. So the survey, we're going to ask you to fill out the survey. They are tracking me to make sure that it's coming from us. You'll know that we are listening. So we'll make sure we email that out to people as well. Now, there was a question here. First time person on Twitch, Max K Dev. This is a good question, Rick. You ready? Here we go. Bringing XML and custom web publishing to FMS Linux has been a game changer for our clients with legacy web solutions. It seems like XML and custom web publishing has been on the technology chopping block for some time. Is there an actual end-of-life date for these technologies?
If we ended life XML, our product would cease to exist. Our product is essentially behind the scenes XML. So no, we're not leaving XML behind. In fact, we're enhancing it. We leverage it for things like save as XML to serialize and deserialize, snippets of code. That's not going away. Custom web publishing. At this point, we have no plans to deprecate that, because if that is what you need, that is a tool that you have available to you. We're not going to uninvent that. If it were redundant and there's a better way to do it, then maybe so. At this point, no plans to do that.
All right, cool. That's a good one. That's an excellent question. There's many millions of dollars that run on XML and custom web publishing, so that stuff can't go away. Although I will say that when I do new custom web publishing projects, I use the data API for that, the newer tech for that. So that's a good thing to do. So we have a short bit.ly link here. So https bit.ly Claris survey. That's the link that you can fill that out. Other questions, Margaret?
Is there a store plan to publish custom connectors / is there a marketplace for Connect plugins?
Yeah, so if someone creates a custom connector, Giuliano, what can they do with it? How do they get that out there?
Well, they can do pretty much anything with it to some extent, meaning, again, the connector boils down to a single JSON file. JSON file is basically a specific format that, through key value structure, allows Claris Connect to understand how the API should behave. So it's an object defined, and there's a series of attributes that you need to fill in, like the base URL of the API, of the path of the API, the HTTP method that you want to use to make the API call, and so on and so forth. And basically, it's a machine readable language that tells our piece of software how to interact with that API after you describe it through this format. But at the end of the day, for the developer, it's a text file. It's just text. So either you copy paste it and you send it via email, you host it on GitHub, you can share it in any single way. Today, we don't have a connector specific marketplace plan, but we do have an existing marketplace that can accommodate content made by our people that are part of our ecosystem. So right now, I don't see a reason why, if somebody creates a connector and wants to list it on the existing marketplace, it would be absolutely possible to do so. Or if they have other means to share, again, it's a single text file. So think of ways to share a single text file that will work. And if we're talking specifically about, Claris' own channel, so that if that's kind of the specific ask, the existing marketplace would be able to support that from an infrastructure perspective. Maybe we'll need to have additional categories for listings, but that's a minor update. But so long story short, it's yet another building block that people can create on top of our platform, like plugins, as an example. And that can be those, so therefore can be distributed using the same means of those add-on components.
Okay. I do have a question here. This is going to be a tough one. I'm going to direct this at Rick. You're going to have to pull on your body armor for this one, Rick. So Jonathan Marcus says, sorry, not the troll. I don't want to be taken, I'm not a mean person, but I wish Claris weren't so worried about making things easier, but we're more focused on making it better. And I'm going to add in parentheses for developers. There are basic things that need improvement. It feels like we've been abandoned.
Okay, I understand both of those, and we try to do both. And we do understand that our product does nothing without someone making it do something. I say choose your generation. Tinker Toys, Legos. I don't know what you're going to build with that, but I give you the ability to build it, right? So yeah, we will always focus. Look, we've got two things. We have existing developers that know how to make this product sing, that are power users, and then we have always aspire to attract new users into our platform. And you've got to start somewhere, right? And so we're going to burn on both sides of those candles. I do, however, absolutely understand the pent-up demand for what I call developer quality of life enhancements, the kinds of things that you're pulling your hair out going, why do I have to spend 3 or 4 or 5 hours every week doing this? Why can't they just do that? We have collected those, curated those, prioritized those, and we'll continue to try to knock those off on an ongoing basis forever. Well, at least as long as I'm here. So, which is, I'm not leaving anytime soon, unless Giuliano kicks me out the door. But
well, I've heard, for those of you, that's why I threw this to Rick. I've heard Rick articulate this, that the developers are essential and a core component of the Claris success. And that's why I threw this to you, Rick. I wanted you to kind of re-articulate what you've said to me. Just because saying it to me is great, but saying it to the community is always much, much better. Speaking of which, are we going to be able to get together at our Engage/DevCon? Is that something are you going to be there, Rick? Are you coming to that?
as far as I know, unless my boss tells me otherwise, but yeah, I plan to be there.
Giuliano?
We will absolutely be there.
Cool. Excellent. Yeah, that's they've a little bit more announcements on that. They have some recommended hotels. But yeah, you're going to want to sign up early once the registration for that opens. Are there questions, Margaret?
I'll take the Media Sandbox one from earlier, maybe. Is it a goal of Claris to require a desktop version of FileMaker to subscribe and regularly authenticate to Claris, much the same way as Adobe Creative Cloud products do?
He's asking is if Claris ID is going to be required to open up local copies of FileMaker Pro. Is it the goal that every time we open FileMaker that we have to authenticate like we do with Adobe Creative Studio Suite?
Great question. And the answer is no. This was one of the additional friction point of Claris Pro back then. You had to use Claris ID to authenticate using Claris ID to use it. Right now, this becomes additive to the platform. So if you need it, you connect your Claris ID. If you don't have to. So I guess that answers the question. It's not, which also basically unlocks, not unlocks, but it doesn't prevent scenarios where you have to work offline because that necessarily connection is no longer needed.
The graphic, someone said, woo, and the dog's wiping the perspiration off its head over here. That's a funny one. Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah. Well, we got about 10 more minutes if folks have questions, right? I mean, this was the point.
We still have questions. I was just going to force my way in here. Is upgrading FileMaker server in place being considered? Server shutdown is okay, but we should not have to reconfigure a fresh install, backup schedules, file locations, plugins, licensing, etc.
Yeah, that we addressed the vast majority of that in FileMaker 19, so you no longer have to do that. So there may be a few of the things that you threw at the end that we don't yet do, but pretty much in the middle of 19, we completely changed up that so that we do retain the settings that you had previously.
All right, cool. Next question, Margaret.
Is it planned to improve the manage relationships to copy paste or an API to create relationships or edit the calculations of a field?
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. Certainly well aware of it. Is it planned in the sense of, is there a date where we're going to do that? No, it's not planned, other than we're well aware of it. And we are well aware that there are improvements, obviously, to be made to the relationship graph. But what's not obvious is what improvements we would do that would be better and superior and not cause havoc. And we need some time to spend there, obviously.
Yeah, that's an important part of this conversation. As Claris is a company with a huge developer base and a huge, installed group of people that use it every day, they have to be very circumspect. That's kind of how we ended up with two platforms that we're trying to bring together, is that Claris did not want to break everyone's solution. So they had some things that they were concerned would break things. I think they're at the point now where they can feel confident they can introduce new features into the platform without breaking everything.
In the long term, is Claris Studio meant to depreciate WebViewer?
I'm not sure if they're talking about WebViewer or WebDirect, right? WebViewer is a different beast. You probably mean WebDirect. At this point, those are fairly different beasts, right? One, you cannot create WebDirect in WebDirect. You create that in FileMaker. But I would say what WebDirect is a pretty faithful replication of a web app, right? It's taking FileMaker and it's projecting it as a rich app in a browser. That is not the nature of what Studio is. At this point, think about Studio is giving a somewhat of equivalent of a layout in FileMaker equals a form in Studio. And of course, there's a lot of power there, right, in how you cobble those things together. At some point, maybe they become redundant, and then Studio does everything and then some that you could accomplish with WebDirect, and there's no need for it. But that we're not there or close to that yet.
Yeah, that's down the road a ways if it's coming at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. The database for Studio, will it always reside on the web?
Yes, that's thus far what Claris has said today, so they don't have to repeat themselves, is that the Claris Studio is built on Mongo. It's a service up on the web. The data lives there. However, the data seamlessly is shared with your FileMaker application, and that application, that database repository, can be either on-prem or also in the cloud. There's lots of opportunity for that. So.
Cool. Next question. Any plans to make the relationship graph respond to the macOS accessibility feature? Most of the app is friendly to visually impaired developers, but that is a giant black hole. It is not available at all.
Aware of it. No specific plans at this point that I can point to.
That's a good question, Dan. I appreciate that. All the people on Discord and Twitch and YouTube, other questions that we have.
This is kind of more asking for like show how Studio works, but I'll ask it anyway. User connecting to Claris Studio, how are the amount of connections, how do you manage the amount of connections needed, and from where do you give access or create users?
I'm trying to understand if it's, I guess, it seems a question related to licensing in a way. So from a practical matter of provisioning users for the actual people that we're gonna have to leverage or work with a solution that is hosted on Studio, there will be a UI, web-based UI to do it, and we are aware that right now we have different areas where this activity can be achieved based on the product we're working on, and we aim at consolidating those as well. There's the Claris Cloud Console as an example. If you're hosting your FileMaker solution on the cloud managed service, the cloud hosted managed service that we do offer, Connect has had its own section to add user, and so does Studio. And obviously, we don't want people to go in 3 different places to add the same user all over the place, if case that's the actual goal that they have. So the operation of adding users will happen on today happens directly on Studio, but we as the platform comes together to work as one, all the aspects of those activities that are in common, we'll try to consolidate them as much as possible to provide a better developer experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a question from Wim. We all know Wim. We love Wim. Question is, any update on licensing for FM Cloud for dev access instead of having to juggle with client licenses to make room for a developer? So I think that's the FileMaker or FileMaker Cloud, right? The cloud server offering, right? You have to have an extra account in there for that.
Yeah, we're well aware of that. We are currently looking at the licensing options and packages for cloud. And yeah, we also believe that you shouldn't have to take up a user count in order to be able to help a customer that you're helping in the cloud. And so we're aware of it, and we'll try to work that out in the next
Cool.
bit.
Media Sandbox says, fantastic question and answer today. He thinks that's really awesome.
There is a follow-up from Wim, which kind of related. Any updates on licensing models for anonymous access, say the school board parents model?
I think
That's
that's
the
part
details of it right now.
Yeah, that was the same. It's essentially the
Was
same.
it related? Okay, I wasn't sure if they were 2 different questions. Got it.
Yep, got it.
That's kind of pretty much it. We mostly covered, like, there's a couple like broad strokes. We had a lot of people asking about premium, freemium, and all of that, but those have kind of all been covered. Mostly we kind of all have comments. This is kind of an interesting one. As a beginner, I don't see why all this. No clear answer, only plans for the future.
Yeah, I would simply say, and I'll throw this to the folks at Claris momentarily, I would simply say that as for beginners, this is a lot to absorb. You're looking at a very successful platform, a very powerful platform. So you're welcome to be here and hang out with all the people building great applications. The developers that are on this chat, all around the world are building hugely powerful solutions that are highly valuable, and we welcome you to come join us. We're doing great things, and I go home at night knowing that I've done great work to help our customers, Wim and all these other developers the same way. And that's the benefit of working at Claris, is that you have this feeling that you've really helped out businesses, helped out people. As a beginner, it's a lot to absorb. It really is, in terms of all the things to learn, and then all the licensing. And then once again, I think for Claris to make it as simple as possible to onboard people. Once again, I think we see some entries into the world of freemium, and maybe someday that will, their intent seems like they want to go that way. It's going to take a little time for them to have a high degree of comfort bringing freemium all the way to the entire platform. But I look forward to that, because that will make bringing beginners and brand new developers in so easy. Oh, here's FileMaker. This is this platform. We'll just start with the basic app and then look at all the great things you can do, right? And then as you build real solutions that help customers, then break out the checkbook and write a check. The business should be willing to do that. If you're providing high value, they should pay for your time as a developer. They should also pay for the software, right? All right, Giuliano, any parting comments before we call it a day today? Oh, we have the survey. More survey. Margaret, post the survey link everywhere one more time for us.
No, I mean, no specific closing remark, but I want to reiterate my full availability to receive emails from the people who are listening to us. Again, our email addresses are easy to guess. It's first name, _ last name @claris.com. So for any question or maybe problem that you want to articulate further, that obviously we can cover at the appropriate depth during the live show like this one, we'll be happy to take a look at that. Again, we're not signing up for a specific SLA in terms of how quickly we can cover those and respond to each email, but we definitely welcome every single data point we can get from our community. So please do it. And thanks again for having us here.
All right, everyone, we're going to catch you tomorrow. And then don't forget, coming up in about a week from Monday, we start Law and Disorder. It's 30 days of intensive training for FileMaker beginners with a model on law and or disorder. It should be exciting and fun for everyone. I'm looking forward to that. All right, Rick, anything else? We're good? Yep.
Yep, we're good.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!